Alright, ladies and gentlemen, in this video I'm going to be going over maps in Golang. So what is a map? A map is a structure with a key value pair. I like to associate a map with a chest. Because if you ever watched any movie, maybe Pirates of the Caribbean, they're always going after treasure. And, what do pirates love? They love treasure chests. But you need a key to open up a treasure chest to get the items inside, right? But you need the proper key, because if you don't have the proper key, you cannot retrieve whatever is inside. I like to associate that to a map. A map is a key value pair. You need the proper key to retrieve the value that's inside of the map. So how do we create a map? Well, there's many ways that you can create a map. I'm going to show you a couple ways. But the first way, let me show you really quick. I'm going to use a variable called chest, and I'm going to make that equal to, and I'm going to use the keyword make. We used this in the previous tutorial to make slices, but we can also use it to make maps. So I'm going to put in the type, which is going to be map, and the first thing we got to do is open up some brackets, and we have to give the type of the key that we're going to use. We can use any of the types that I specified in the previous tutorials where I went over primitive types. You can use a string, you can use an int, you can use a float, but I'm going to use a string. And on the outside is going to be the type of the value that we're going to retrieve using that key, and I'm going to make that an int, and then boom. So this is how you make an empty map, and the reason why it's showing this red is because we're not using it. So that is how you create, or that's one way you can create a map. Another way you can make it is you can just simply have, let me just make another chest 2, and I'm going to just make it equal to a map, and that is going to be a string, and it's going to be a string for the key, and it's going to be an int. Remember, it's a string inside of some brackets, and on the outside is going to be the type of the key. And then I'm going to open up some brackets, and that is another way you can make a map. This is also going to be empty, but we can initialize it as well using whatever you want. So we can do, let's see, key can be, I guess, treasure, and we'll just give it a value, and this has to be an int because we specified it's going to be int, and I'm just going to make it equal to 1. Now it's only showing red here because we're not actually using it, and I forgot to put a colon here, but we're not actually using it. But we can print this out, and so I can show what exactly is in these maps. So we have an empty map, and we have another map that has a key of treasure, which we specified is going to be a string right here. So I put it as a string, and the value is going to be an int. So meaning when we use this key of treasure, we're going to get this value of 1. So let me print it out so you can see how exactly it is formatted. So I'm going to print out chest, and I'm going to print out chest number 2. If I can type properly, chest 2. Save this, and then I'm going to do go run. Ooh, I forgot to, let me see, go run dot. Let me clear this out just so I can make it a little bit. So just do go run dot, and then boom. So the first one we see an empty map, right? And then in the second one we see the key and the value. We see treasure and we see 1. Now, since we have nothing in the first chest, there's nothing that we can actually retrieve, but there is something that we can retrieve inside of the second chest. So how exactly do we retrieve it? Like I said, we provided a key and we provided a value, and it's just like a treasure chest. When we use the proper key on the proper chest, we're able to get whatever is inside. So for chest number 2, if I just open up some brackets and I use the key that I used in the map, I should be able to retrieve the value. So I use treasure as the key, so I should get whatever is stored using that key. Run it again, and you should see 1. Still an empty chest, still an empty map for the first one, but it is 1 for retrieving for the chest number 2. Now we can also add data, right? So before I initialized it with some data, but if we started with no data, we can also add data. So all we got to do is use the variable name, which is chest. open up some brackets. And since we said that we want to use a string for the key, we have to use a string. So let me put prize for this, key. But I have to open up some brackets, use the string inside of it, and I'm going to assign, using the equal sign, I'm going to assign it a value of, let's say, 100. You get $100 or 100 pesos, 100 whatever inside of this chest. And now, if I print both of them again, and let me clear this out, go run. And now you'll see inside of the map there is a key of prize and a value of 100. So that is how you add values to the map. All you have to do is use the proper key type, which is prize, inside of some brackets, and make that equal to or assign it a value. And right here the type is int, so I have to assign it to int. If I try to use another type, it's gonna get mad. But if I use the proper type, then we're good to go. And we can see whatever's inside of it by printing it, or we can try to retrieve it by opening up the brackets again and providing the key, right? Because we're not assigning, we're retrieving, so we don't have to, use the equal. We just retrieve the value using the key. Now let's say we want to delete a value. Say for instance we want to reset the treasure chest. We don't want that value to be inside of the map anymore. We have another key word, and that is called delete. All right, and delete, all we got to do is, if you see right here, look how nice VS Code is. They actually provide some information. So if you provide the map and you provide the key that you want to delete, then you delete that specific key inside of the map. So let's use chest number 2, and let's delete the treasure, because there's only one inside of it, so it's not really much to offer. So let's delete that key, and let me print it out right after so I can show that it is gone. So chest 2, and let me clear this out and go run. So before we saw prize 100 because we assigned prize to 100 for the first chest. We print that out. Then the second chest, we already initialized it with treasure once we created it. So we try to retrieve it and we got it, which is 1. But now after we delete it and we print out chest number 2 again, we see that it is gone because we deleted it. So that is how you can delete a key from a map. All you got to do is provide the delete keyword function, provide the map, the variable that's holding the map, and the key that you want to delete. Now, what if you want to check if a key is actually in the map, right? Because retrieving something or retrieving a key that's not there could cause problems, right? Especially in an application where you expect something to be there but it's not. In Golang, there is a way to check if a key is there. So what we would have to do is, first, when we're trying to retrieve the value, all right, we can store that value into a variable. I'm gonna call this variable, let's call it val, and I'm gonna put a comma here, and I am going to use a variable called OK, right? This OK is going to be used to store a boolean to check whether or not a key is in the map. If it is, then it's going to return true. This OK is going to be true. If it is not, then it's going to be false, meaning that it's not in the map. So we're going to set that equal to whatever we're trying to retrieve. So let's do chest 2, and let's try to retrieve treasure, because we just deleted it above, so it shouldn't be there. We shouldn't expect to see it. And let me do fmt_println. Right, well, let me do format so I can print out both of them properly. So let me see, the value is, and we should expect to see an int if it is there. So I'm gonna put a format for an int, and comma is okay, the value is there, and then I'm just gonna place, I believe for boolean is t, so let me just do val and OK. All right, cool, that should be good. So the value is blank if it's there. It's checking if it's able to retrieve it, and the value is there, and then we're gonna put the actual boolean. So let me save this, go run. So by default, remember, oh, actually, let me put a /n. And let me clear this out just so it's easier to see. Go run again. So we already went through the first couple lines. We know that, you know, the first chest is going to have 100 for prize. We know it's going to retrieve 1. We know it's going to delete it. But then what we expect to see, the value is 0. I thought the value for treasure was 1, but remember we deleted it. And any value that, you know, is created is defaulted to 0 when there is no value assigned to it. Remember, it's by default, you know, it's going to be 0. So that means we did not find the value for treasure. And you can see here, OK is returned as false because we did not find that key inside of the map. So this is a good way to check when attempting to retrieve a value beforehand, so that you can check, so your application can run in the way that you want it to. If we can check if it's actually there first, then do some logic based on that, then we should be good to go. You don't want, because remember, this will be defaulted to 0 if it's not there. So you want to make sure that the value is the value that you expect, so you can have another variable assigned to hold a boolean to check if you're actually able to retrieve the proper value from the map, if it's actually even there. So that is the or this can be whatever you want. I just call it OK. But this variable name that's going to hold the boolean can be called whatever you want. It's just going to be a boolean, and you can use some logic to check for that. In the next video, actually, we're going to be, or in a couple of videos, going to be going over if statements. So stay tuned for that. And if statements will be perfect for doing some logic if it is false. But yeah, that is how you check if a value is in a map. So the last thing that I want to show when it comes to maps are how to get the length of the amount of things inside of a map. And this is easy because we've seen it plenty of times. But to get the length of whatever is in a map or the items that are in a map, just use len, like we've used for arrays and slices. So just use len, open it up, provide the name of whatever is holding your map, and if VS Code doesn't block me, in this case I'm just going to use whatever is holding. So chest is holding 1 item, so if I put chest here, I should expect to see 1, and let me just print this out. And actually took the length away, and let me do the length is, then I'll do format instead. Actually put this because it's going to be an int, and we should be good to go. Clear this out, go run, and boom, the length is, and I always forget to put a /n so it can be on a new line. Run it again, and boom, the length is 1. Now if we try to add something else, which we could, let's do chest and do extra, and make that equal to 200 extra prize. Now, and clear this out, we should see 2. The length is 2. So now it's going to have prize. It's going to have prize in the beginning, and it's going to have an extra prize that is 200, and it's going to increase the length. So that is maps in Golang. That's how you add to a map. We can delete using the delete keyword. You know, we can retrieve just by using you know, the value of the key that's in the map. We can check if the key is actually even there using an extra variable that will store a boolean that holds whether it's, you know, in there. It will return true. If it's not, then it's going to return false. We can get the length of the items in the map. So maps are pretty powerful. If you need something that's going to hold using a key value pair, then maps are your go-to.